Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Glad to see you again. We have hello. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. As you can see, it is my birthday. Hello, Trish. Glad to see you here. Well, if you've watched our show before, okay. There's going to be a lot of this, I think. A lot of people saying hello and happy birthday. Hi, Jillian. Glad you're watching. Thank you. Glad to have you here. We have two really great authors tonight. We're really excited for you to meet them. And they've written some really wonderful books that I'm totally interested in. And we're going to have some great giveaways. So stay tuned and see how you can win. And without further ado, let's bring on our first guest, Orlando. Hi.
Hi, Orlando.
Hi. Great to see you again. Actually, this is really our official first time meeting face to face.
There you go.
Thank you for having me here.
We've known you for years.
Actually, yes, for years. Since Two Mirrors and Butterflies, which is, I want to say, about 4 years now. Wow, time has flown. Yeah.
Yeah, it has. We have known you for years, but only
digitally.
Like so many people today.
Yes.
So, Orlando, how about if you tell us, I know you have two separate series. You want to tell us a little bit about each series?
Sure. The first series that I wrote was The Spiritual Warriors, and that's it dives deep into the martial arts background and alternate worlds and different parallel worlds to ours. And that has a lot of the influence because I'm a martial artist. And I've been a martial artist for, I want to say, about 34 years now, actively practicing. And so that follows Dante, the main character, through his adventures. It's a 5-book series. And the second series, which is the main series now, is the Montague and Strong Detective series. That's currently on book 13. And currently I have 21 books slated for that one, outlined. And that's currently what I'm doing right now. And that one is an immortal detective, a cranky mage, and a hungry hellhound. What could possibly go wrong? And so they were cases that no one else wants to take. And they basically are demolition experts. They kind of blow everything up around them as they work these cases. And it's a lot of fun. It's action, snark, a lot of snark. But there are a lot of messages. And the overall theme of that series is family. Not so much the one that you're born into, but the one that you choose to have around you. And so it's really, that's the unifying theme of that series, family. Yeah.
That, I think that rings so true with a lot of people today about family.
Yes.
Not necessarily being the one that you're born into.
Exactly, yes.
But the one that you choose to be in.
Right. And then there's
Trish loves snark, by the way.
Awesome, Trish. I think that's fantastic. One of my characters, Uncle Dex, says, "Family is the one that stands by you when everything goes to heck. That's the one. That's your family. So when everything is going wrong, a lot of people will flee, but there's a small group of people who stand by you no matter what, and that's your family."
You know what? A lot of the people that are saying hello right now are part of our family.
Yeah, that's great.
Some have been born into it, and some have not been born into it.
Have been brought into it.
They've been brought into it, and they've seen us through some rough times. That's what family does, right?
That's exactly what family does. And so Monty and Strong, they go through some serious situations, and then over time you see that those bonds are there. The bonds of family are there.
Yeah. And for the people that just came in late, could you again explain who the characters are in this book? Because I know they
Sure.
would enjoy it.
So the Two Nerds and Butterflies is the first book of the Montague and Strong Detective Agency. It's an immortal detective, which is Simon Strong, and a cranky mage, which is Tristan Montague, who's British, and Peaches, which is Simon's hellhound. And Peaches is always hungry, which is typical dog. So, but he's a hellhound, and they go through these adventures. And what I've been told by my amazing readers is that Peaches is the star of the series, and I have to agree with them. Peaches is really the star of the series.
I love that.
Yeah.
Peaches the hellhound.
Yes, and it's an interesting paradox. He's a hellhound, and he's really scary, and then his name is Peaches. It's like, huh? What?
That's great. Hey, Orlando, before
Yes.
we go on and before you tell about your next book,
Sure.
let's give people a chance and tell them about the book giveaway.
Right.
The first person to email osanchez.author@yahoo.com will win a signed copy of Tombstones and Butterflies, and that's
Worldwide. So anywhere the book will get sent. I have the USPS. So anywhere, whoever it is gets the book.
Okay. Now, then the second book that you have, or the next series, is what?
Oh, geez. There's so many. Right. Well, right now I'm focusing on Montague and Strong because that's the series that my readers really, really, really love. And the second series that I've been kind of coaxed into writing is the Nixia White series. And she's a really kind of a little bit more, it's a darker story. It's more grimdark. And she deals with the darkest side of the underworld and trying to protect the people who make mistakes in that world. So I have the Nixia and Acheron. So Nixia is something called an otherkin, and Acheron is the demon lord. And they end up being the heroes of this story, but it's dark. And I only planned 3 stories, or 3 novellas, but there's the Nixia and Acheron coalition in my reader group, and they've been like, no, this needs to be longer, and you need to write full-length books. And so that's currently what I'm working on as another series. So there you go. There you have it. And I have to listen to my readers. So
Jillian already emailed.
wow. So if she's first, she gets it. That's it.
So whoever the quickest on the draw was,
And
right?
the email was shown to the first person. Yeah.
She had said this before.
Yeah.
And this is what Trish had to say.
Oh, Rocco's Modern Life. No, I've heard about this, but a lot of the things that come up. So let me clarify. I think as individuals, we pick up so much as we grow and we age, that these things just filter in and they're just sitting there. And so as an author, when you read widely and you're exposed to a lot of media, these things just get into your brain somehow and they get used at different times. And so I never heard of the Peaches of the Underworld, but I have heard of Rocco's Modern Life because I have kids,
Yeah.
Any animated thing you can think of, I've heard of it, seen it, watched it, probably know it verbatim at this point. So
Yes, ditto. You have 7, right?
I have 7, yes.
We have 6. They're all grown up,
Yes.
but we have 14 grandchildren.
Yeah. So you guys are on round 2 at this point.
Yeah, there's a whole different set of.
Yeah. See, but at grandchildren, you can give them back. So you can always say, okay, take them back home now. When they're kids, it's all you. So
But to be honest, I usually don't want to give them back.
that's the other thing. And you get to spoil them as grandparents, which is
Oh,
great.
yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
the great part.
You can ask our kids. They'll tell you.
So that's always good. I'm looking forward to those moments where I can spoil them. Your dad we'll never let your dad do this, but for you, yes, you can have chocolate. Come here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't have to be worried about the sugar rush afterwards.
exactly.
So could you tell us where everyone can find you, Orlando?
Sure. My website is www.orlandoasanchez.com. You can find me there, and then if you sign up, there's a little area at the top of the website where you can sign up for the email, and you'll get 3 short stories that you can't locate anywhere else. So they're not on Amazon, they're not anywhere else. They're just only through the newsletter. You'll get them.
Don't lose them if you get them.
Don't lose them, because then you're gonna have to unsubscribe and resubscribe, I guess. And then you can also find me on Facebook at Orlando Sanchez. On Twitter, I'm also on at Orlando Sanchez, author O Sanchez on Twitter. And on Amazon, just look up Orlando A. Sanchez and you'll find me in all the books. And I have this awesome picture that my book cover designer made for me, where it's holding flames in my hands. It's pretty amazing. So I call them the flames of creativity, which is awesome.
I put that on one of our advertisements. I thought that was awesome. You know?
Yeah, I have another one with peaches, an actual peaches, a hellhound.
Can you do that? Can you do that for us right now, Orlando?
Sure. Let me see if I can find it for you.
No, can you do it?
Oh yeah. But then I'm not in a flame-proof area. So
all right. Well, forget about it. You don't want to put you.
I don't want to create an incident, and then we'll have then have problems.
There you go.
No, those are the fires of creativity. That's what those symbolize. So that's what they are.
There you go.
That's a good thing to have symbolized.
And you want to just keep those stoked all the time. So
right. Yeah. And then also the newsletter. Don't you have a newsletter?
So the newsletter, you go to www.orlandoasanchez. And when you sign up, you get a newsletter. I try to be good about this, like twice a month, but usually once a month. And it's basically a place to find out what's new, what's coming, what I'm currently working on, and to connect with readers who don't usually get on Facebook, because there are a lot. I have about 5,000 people on my newsletter, and most of them aren't on Facebook. So they don't want to get on Facebook. It's just something that they don't do, and so they get information that way through the newsletter. So
yeah. I think it's a good thing to always be out there.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was difficult because there's a lot as an indie author that you guys know, but there's a lot you don't know when you start. Like, how do I do this? How do I, get this started? How do I get this started? And you need reviews, but you don't know anyone. You don't have any readers. So how do you get reviews for your readers? So it's a lot of chicken and egg thing. But after a while, you speak to other authors, and they give you insights, and they help you out, and they point you in the right direction, and they say, hey, you need to do this. Like when I met you guys, and it's like, you need to get your book out there, get it marketed, and it's a slow process, but it'll happen if you stick with it. And so over time, you get to that point. And so that's what I do with other authors too.
It is a slow process, but
it is.
And building up your followers is a slow process.
Slow and often painful.
It is. And I remember when I wrote my first book, The Spiritual Warriors, my idea was, this is what I was living under the illusion. I'm going to write the book, and it's just going to take off, and that's it, and I can retire. And I wrote the book, and not so much. It's like, well, maybe you have to get it edited first, and then you've got to market it, and then you got to, get the word out, and it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this.
And you had great covers on those.
I
mean, they were awesome.
But even with all of that, I mean, that's the thing. You can have great covers. This is what I tell new authors, because I speak to a few often. It's like, invest in your covers, invest in editing. Those are things that you have to do. This is not negotiable. Really, you have to do those things.
First impression.
The first impression.
Yeah.
But even with all of that, if you don't have an audience yet, that's where the work comes in. You've got to put yourself out there. And that's hard for a lot of authors, because by nature, authors are introverts. We don't want to go out, but that's why we're authors, because we want to hide behind a screen. We'll write, and we don't need to be out there. But if you want people to discover your work, you've got to put yourself out there somehow. So I started a launch team and a reader team, and we got out there talking to readers and shared stories with them and character ideas. And over time, it started building. So, but that takes time. Like I said, it's a long process, and sometimes it's a painful process.
Yeah. Would you mind telling us a little bit about this particular cover?
Wow. Yes. So Wander is that. Well, the cover is done by the very talented people, Gene and Sasha at Gene Malika Studios. They're the ones who do these covers. This is Gray and Coda. Those are the two characters you see there. Gray is a Night Warden. These are the Night Warden series, Night Warden novels. this cover and every subsequent cover for the Night Warden novels are photo shoots that I went to Manhattan for, and it was like a 6 to 8 hour affair, and they just took about 2,000 pictures, all of which could be covers, and they just go into positions, and he had them holding swords, and that's a real fan, that's a real sword he's holding, and these are models taking pictures in positions. I have the raw pictures, and then I submit them to Gene, and he says, okay, which one do you want to make the next cover? I said, I think this one would be great. Let's use this color scheme. So I said, for the first one, let's kind of stay in the orange palette. Let's make this really pop and stand out. And so these covers look, I can take this cover, and I'm sorry, it's hard for people who are in audio, they can't see the cover, but I could take this cover, any Night Warden cover, and blow it up to whatever size I want to, and it maintains its resolution because these are just so well done. And this cover is one of the covers that gets the most attention is this one.
Yeah,
I think
really beautiful. Yeah.
And the logo is a logo I designed because I have a strong affinity for dragonflies, and there's a lot of significance with dragonflies. If you know what the dragonflies are, there's a lot of history there. So the logo is a dragonfly, and there's a lot of symbolism there with that cover. It's a great cover.
A lot of thought went into that cover. It looks it too.
Yes, yeah.
So if anybody has any questions that's watching right now for Orlando, he's going to be on here another 10 minutes or so, and he'll be hanging around toward the end of the show as well, throughout the rest of the show. But before we bring Mark in at the bottom of the hour, we're going to take a little break. And so if anybody has any questions about Orlando,
or for Orlando,
or about Orlando, or whatever. You also dabbled a little bit in the martial arts, right?
Not a
yes.
little.
Yeah, quite a bit. I've practiced martial arts for 34 years, and I'm a 3rd-degree black belt. I'm an instructor, and we had a dojo, but we closed it because of the pandemic. But we had one for 11 years, and so yeah, I've been martial arts. It's just part of my life at this point. It's part of who I am. So, yeah, if you have a question, feel free to ask. I usually answer them.
You got a question right now.
Wow, Trish, that's incredible. You know how broad that is? Okay, so right now, it's funny that you asked that. Right now, I'm watching Peaky Blinders. And the reason what draws me to shows, usually it's not so much if it's action, it's the writing that draws me to shows. And Peaky Blinders has some of the best writing I've seen in a show of that kind. And the actors, Cillian Murphy and Helen, who does some Polly, the way they execute their lines and the way they express themselves, the acting is incredible. So for me, it's a combination of the acting and the writing. If the writing isn't where it needs to be for me, I lose interest in the show. The writing is really, and I guess it's because I'm a writer. So I get inspiration from things like that. I also watch Scrubs. My wife turned me on to Scrubs. I never watched it when it was on TV, and it's hilarious. So Dr. Cox is incredibly funny. He gets the best lines. So I watch Scrubs, and I've recently been watching American Gods. That's Neil Gaiman's book turned into a series, which is not for kids at all. But again, it's the writing in that. And Ian McShane is a fantastic. He carries that show, and it's so things like that. Yes, Scrubs is awesome, Genevieve. I think Scrubs is fantastic.
It's really funny.
It's really funny. It makes me, because we watch it late. The kids go to bed, they go to sleep, and we'll stay up and we'll watch Scrubs. And I'll stay up to like 1, 2, 3 in the morning because the episodes go so quickly. They're short and they're funny. Before you know it, you've watched like 4 episodes. It's amazing.
Well, you hit a note there. Genevieve, Sue, and Trish all said Scrubs is awesome.
Yeah.
Scrubs.
And I'm on season. I believe I'm on season 5 of Supernatural because there's 15 seasons.
Oh,
and again,
gosh.
I didn't watch it when it was on TV, so we're catching up because they filmed their final season like last year. And so I'm catching up on all the Supernatural, and a lot of it. So what we do, me and my wife, is we deconstruct the episodes. It's like, yeah, no, that wouldn't work. No, he didn't put salt the right way there, or that circle is not going to do anything. What is, So,
Right.
Well,
yeah, so
our other job is.
yeah, so it makes sense that you guys would know about Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I watch it, sometimes I just go.
Yeah, exactly.
And
all right, so
sometimes I love it, and sometimes I'm like,
yeah, my wife and I are saying, we're like, sometimes like that's plausible, and then the other one's like, no, that they're reaching there. No, sorry. So Trish wants to know, who are my top three? Okay, top three. That's not gonna fly, Trish. Just let me tell you. Geez, I mean, I have so many favorite authors. Let's start with influences. I would say Tolkien, because when I was younger, I would read Lord of the Rings every summer. Terry Pratchett. So Terry Pratchett, because he has some of the smartest humor I've ever read, and his books kind of make you go back and reread them, and like, wow, how did I miss this the first 5 times? There's so many. I can spend all the time here telling you about favorite authors. Paulo Coelho, because his Warrior of the Light theme in his stories is amazing. It's just so much that I don't want to slight any author, because there's just so many of them. Don wants to know, how far in advance do I plan my books? Well, the Montague and Strong series, I'm on book 13 now. I'm writing it, and it's outlined till book 21 right now. So years and years. Yeah. In addition to other series and other short stories that crop up, because as a result of Montague and Strong, there are a lot of offshoots. If I always compare Montague and Strong to a large tree, they're the trunk, and all these other short stories are the branches and the offshoots of that main tree. So,
yeah, when you were talking about the need to get out there and get an audience and all that kind of Don's excited. That's what I
21,
said.
yay.
That's what I said too, Don. I said 21, yay.
And actually, I just planned all the covers for 2022, and they're all Montague and Strong. So there's at least another 12, Don.
A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, at least 12. Well, now we're looking at 33 books. Jeez. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, James Patterson, you were talking about people having to get out there and, find their audience and that kind of stuff. The one thing that we noticed is that James Patterson, who, is a very prolific author.
Extremely, yeah.
And a very well-loved author. I loved his Women's Murder Club series myself. And actually, we took a writing course with him. And the thing that we noticed is that now he gets dressed up as an Easter bunny, and he does his children books around Easter time. So it's tough out there for authors. I mean, that's James Patterson.
And he doesn't need to do this. I mean, he's James Patterson. That's
right.
You want to talk about household name? That's about as household name as you get when it comes to an author, or like Lee Child or Stephen King. These are authors who don't need to, and yet they still go out and connect with their readers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Dawn says to share those covers with her.
Sure, Dawn. I'm like, I don't usually share that far ahead. So I've shared Divine Intervention, which is book 14, and I only share one book ahead. Whatever book I'm writing, I'll share the next book, but I won't go 21 books ahead.
That's a good plan. Good plan.
Yeah.
But
by the time the book is released, they forget the cover anyway. So it's like, oh yeah, that cover. So
Stephen King is on Twitter. That's true.
And he doesn't need to be.
No.
Stephen King. That's about another household name when it comes to being an author. Or Lee Child. Lee Child's another one. I like Lee Child because of his thrillers, but he interacts a lot with his readers. So as an author, you have to get past that. I don't want to be out there. You have to.
Well, I think that it's good for your fans to make an emotional connection with you so that they know who you are. And I think if you're intelligent, you might realize that.
Well, yeah, I think, see, I like to, my readers, and I always tell them this, I say, listen, I'm available. I'll let you know if I can't answer you right now, because I might be in the middle of a project or whatever, but I'm always available. You can always PM me, you can always DM me. whatever the case may be, and I'll get back to you. I don't believe in being in, the ivory tower. I'm an author and I'm too busy and I'm too much of a creative. I can't, no. I'm
in the zone.
I'm in this. I want to talk to my readers too, because they've given me great ideas over the years as well.
Sure.
And so it's a way of connecting with people who love my stories. I mean, I have the best job in the world. I can write stories and I have people who read them. It doesn't get better than that. Oh, have I ever been approached? No, not yet. I'm waiting for Netflix to contact me about Montague and Strong. I'm waiting for that.
Let them know.
Maybe
if they can make Bright, which was
maybe there's an agent watching this show.
Yeah, if they can make Bright, which is really fun with Will Smith and those actors, they can make Montague and Strong, or the Umbrella Academy, or any of these other shows that they have on there. So yeah.
We did have a Canadian group reach out to us, a broadcast company, for our series, but nothing ever came of it.
Yeah,
that happens a lot.
Things get optioned all the time, but there's a lot of yeses that have to happen before it actually becomes a feature. A lot.
Yeah.
So I don't hold out too much for that. I just, it'd be nice if it happens, but if not, I just keep writing.
One of our authors just had it happen.
Yeah.
It can happen.
He's actually going to be on next week.
Next week.
Fantastic.
George Dismukes. Yeah.
George.
So let me know, and I'll make sure that my mob knows about it, and we'll
watch.
Spread the word.
Next Monday night.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, same place.
Wednesday night.
We've got
whatever. Excellent.
George Dismukes. He's an action adventure author, and along with him will be a psychological thriller author, Jolene Noel Butler. She's going to be on. So
fantastic.
That ought to be a fun hour.
2 genres that I enjoy. So yeah.
And both of those authors you can find on indiebooksource.com, where you can find you, Orlando.
And this is a great site. So yeah, Indie Book Source. I was showing my wife Dolly this, because I remember your site when you first started.
Yeah.
And it was so different. And when I went recently, I was like, wow, they've made some awesome changes. It looks really great.
You like the changes? That's good.
Yeah, I was amazed. I was like, because I had the memory of how it was. We're talking years ago, right? So it was different. It looked different. I mean, it still did the job. It still did what it needed to do.
CarterNovels.com still has that same format.
Right.
We just moved Indie Book Source out.
Yeah, Indie Bookstore looks really upscale now. It's like,
it does.
Oh, you guys took it to the next level.
Thank you.
I was impressed. Yes.
We had fun doing that.
It's work, but it needs to be done.
Of work.
It's a lot of work, because you can see it in the site. You can see that you guys put work into it.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of work to get everything over there and to get the right backgrounds so that people's things popped,
Well, that Wanda cover that you did, the little ad that you did with Wanda, it's orange. And you have the cover in the front, and then the background is actually the cover, but it's a little more washed out. I was blown away by that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Wow. When I saw it.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Very cool.
Well, I think I used to try to put different kinds of backgrounds. Actually, I did that on a lot of yours.
You did a lot, yeah. There's a lot of them. Mm-hmm.
I tried to do things that were
kind of related. Yeah,
related.
Yeah.
But then I thought, number one, that was taking too long.
Because you have to find a different image. Yeah.
But what tells a better story than your own cover?
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the key. It's like what I was saying earlier when I speak to new authors. Like, you have to invest in certain things from the get-go. You have to invest in your cover, and you got to invest in your editing, please, because you're making that impression. And make sure your description or your blurb is really sharp, because readers see a cover, then they'll go to the blurb and they'll decide then they'll read the first page and see, okay, maybe I want to get this book. If any of those points aren't where they need to be, you lose a reader.
Right. Well, hopefully we don't lose anybody right now.
I hope not.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be welcoming Mark Rosendorf on.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You haven't gone anywhere yet.
No, I'm not. I haven't. I'm here.
But we're going to take a word from our sponsor at this time.
Fantastic.
Paratalk Radio is a member of Radio.com. Download the app, search Paratalk Radio. One word. That's it. Pretty easy peasy. Radio.com.
WLFE DB Radio is on Spotify with all its great shows like Across the Pond, Inside the Drag Closet, Step into the Paranormal, Just Cindy, Where's My Sage, Unfiltered Talks with Bryce, Metal Mayhem ROC, Paratalk Radio, Real Talk with Dom, and more. So download the Spotify app today to stay connected to all your WLFE DB Radio shows.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Woo!
Welcome, Mark.
That was amazing, Mark.
Quite an entry. Was that magic?
Magic, yes. Good evening, Rob, Joan, Orlando, and everybody listening right now. How was everybody? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
How are you, Mark?
Thank you.
Same to you.
Same to you. We're all good. Let me see.
Still on.
Okay. Just was checking on the comments here. So, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got, oh, Sue Pearson says hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Thanks, Sue. We're always glad to say hello to, oh, yeah. Trish says, hello, Mark. Now I forgot my train of thought. I have no idea. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I wanted to ask you to please tell people what you used to do. Don McQueen Mortimer says hello also. How you got into writing this series.
Okay.
It's a great story.
So I used to write back in 2009. My first book, The Rousner Effect, had come out. At that point, it was a 3-book series I wrote. I also wrote a science fiction book, as well as a short story, all within a period of 4 years, from 2009 to about 2013. At the time, I really didn't know a lot about the industry. A lot of what Orlando was talking about before, I wasn't aware of. And by the time I actually learned all of that, my books had become a little bit outdated. That was before I had my set of rules to keep books timeless, but that'll be a separate podcast. So basically, I gave up writing entirely. I felt, you know what? I did it. It's time to move on. And all of a sudden, 2 o'clock in the morning, this idea hit me. I should point out that throughout college and such, I was actually a professional magician. I did a lot of different, hi, Amy. I did a lot of different stage performances, and now I'm a high school guidance counselor working with special needs students. And as part of our performing arts program, I teach magic. We go up on stage, and they perform magic. So I was just thinking about it, that, a lot of work goes into this magic, but people in the audience don't really know that's them. It could be witchcraft. What a great place for witches to hide in plain sight as magicians. So the ideas just started rolling. Obviously, it would have to be in Las Vegas. I started visualizing the characters. They started talking to me. I'm up every night at 2 a.m. scribbling in a notebook, trying very hard not to wake my wife, a little flashlight under the blanket. Basically, The Witches of Vegas was born. Since then, it's actually won a few awards. It came in second in the International Digital Awards for Young Adult. It was rated 5 stars by Indie Tale magazine. It was also rated one of Shelf Unbound books to watch for 2020. I don't really see this as resuming my career as an author. It's almost like I've restarted with a new genre, new story, even a new style. I'm a born-again author.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, before we go too much farther to give people time, why don't we tell them about your giveaway?
All right. Well, the first 3 people to email me, I'm offering a free signed copy of The Witches of Vegas. Has to be U.S. only because of at this point it's very expensive to mail internationally. We border Canada, and yet it's $25 to send it over that line. I'm also offering 2 ebook copies, and that can be to anyone around the world.
Good. Awesome. And also, before we get any further, I'd like you to be able to tell people where they can find you.
My website is markrosendorf.com. They can also contact me at mark@markrosendorf.com, markrosendorf.com. Books are also available wherever ebooks, print books, or audiobooks are sold. I'm happy to say, actually last week, The Witches of Vegas came out as an audiobook. And I should also mention the sequel, Journey to New Salem, is scheduled to come out next week.
Yes, that's March 29th, right?
That's correct.
Did I remember correctly? Okay, cool.
So I should talk about what The Witches of Vegas is about, right?
Yes, you should.
All right. So The Witches of Vegas is about a family of witches who hide in plain sight, openly using their magic on the Vegas stage as magicians. Now, this is great for them, way to practice. It's also great for audiences, but it's not so great for the magicians in Vegas who can't possibly compete with them and have to leave. So the story revolves around 2 main characters. Isis Rivera, who is the 15-year-old adopted daughter of the witches. She has the potential to be one of the most powerful witches out there, but right now she's learning how to use that gift. Zach Galloway is not a witch. He's the teenage nephew and assistant to the last magician left in Vegas, the amazing Herb Galloway, who's struggling just to keep his show alive and food on their table. I should point out there's also a 500-year-old vampire named Luther, who has trained generations of witches for centuries in case a threat from his past should ever resurface. And the Witches of Vegas are their latest trainees. So when this threat does show up in the most unexpected way possible, it's up to Isis and Zach to put their differences aside, bring their families together to combat this threat before it's too late.
I don't know if you saw that, but Trish Pipkin said, email is sent. Boom.
Well, I actually have my email off now because I don't want all the ding, ding, dings during our...
That's a good plan.
That is a very good plan. So actually, this is now like your second career as an author. And you seem to be much more excited about this one.
Well, I'm taking all that I learned from the previous time and putting it here. I've also learned a lot more regarding, as far as social media, how to market the book, which honestly, when I first got into it, I was one of those authors that figured I'll put it out, people discover it, it'll be a movie by next year.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way, of course.
No, that would be magic.
Right.
Yeah, that would be magic or witchcraft
Or something like that.
one or the other. But yeah, I think a lot of us think that, oh yeah, I'm going to be an author. I guess we didn't really think that, but I think that probably most everyone hopes that, We have a British friend who's had his book under, what do you call it, option. Oh, he had it under option for maybe 3 years and then nothing ever came of it. And it's hard to watch someone go through that, because he was really hoping to see that happen.
He got paid well for it, though. But.
He did. He got you. That is one thing to think of. If they ever do option your book, they will pay you.
Honestly, I'll be the first one online. If they contact me and say, hey, you want to put it out there? Yeah. Let me think about that. Do I want it to be a movie? Yeah, I want it to be a movie. So
there you go.
Right? And it sounds like your book would be a really good movie, too, because there's a lot of action. There's magic. It's in Las Vegas. There's lights, there's good versus evil. There's a conflict. It sounds really good.
This is really its own, its own character. When I was first starting to write this book, we took a family vacation to Las Vegas, and I went around that entire strip just taking notes, taking it all in, and it shows in there.
Yeah.
So you've got another one coming out, the second in the series.
Journey to Salem, that's correct.
Wrong one.
Wrong one.
No,
there you go.
There it is.
I was wandering around in the wrong place. So.
And in this one, this is where the world of the Witches of Vegas is gonna open up, where we're gonna learn about a village that's been around for 300 years, hidden from the world, of a place where witches can go and just live a normal life. It was built 300 years ago against persecution, and the Witches of Vegas are going to need to go to this village to save one of their own.
That's really a great concept. New Salem, because of course they had to leave Salem, right? Hence
right.
the name New Salem. That really sounds like a fun book also. I can't wait until that one comes out. Excuse me.
Week. Or maybe a week and a half.
Yeah.
12 days.
Week and a half, yep.
Yeah. Now, Mark, your covers, they look really professionally done. Did you have them professionally done?
Well, I'm published through the Wild Rose Press.
Wild Rose Press. Okay,
That's
cool.
Correct. And they, I can tell you regarding the Wild Rose Press, they're very supportive, not just the the publisher and the editors, but even the fellow authors are always out there promoting for each other. And they also have a really great art department that contacts each author, says, how do you envision this cover? And then they send it, and after they make and send it to you, it's basically exactly what you envisioned in your head.
Wow.
That's great.
That is cool.
Actually, one of our good friends is your editor.
Cindy Davis actually is the first round of edits, does a lot to, for looking for the little mistakes that I make. And then once it goes to Wild Rose Press, I work with an editor named Diane Rich, who is just as amazing and edits the book as if she wrote it herself. So I've been very lucky in the editing department to work with the right people. That's
good. A good editor is important. You might not like them at the time, but
no, I do, because I'm going in assuming no matter how perfect I think my books are, I know they're not, and they're going to find the things that's really going to help make it professional and get it out there. Because the last thing, obviously, any author wants to do is put out a book that is filled with mistakes and isn't professionally quality.
But they cut things.
That's their job.
Sometimes it's painful.
I know that's their job.
Sometimes it's painful.
They cut things. They make it shorter.
True. But I like when my editors tell me, you're being way too wordy here. Because it's things, by the 10th time I've read through it, I probably, I'm not even picking it up.
Don't you think every author is way too wordy?
Well, that's what the editors are for.
Yeah, that is why you have to have an editor, because we all have a lot to say. And too many adjectives and too many adverbs.
Well, that's for sure.
You don't have to say shout loudly. Shout says it. But they were shouting loudly.
So
the way they say no man is an island, no book is an island either.
that's true.
That is very true.
Very true. Well, we're cruising into our last 15 minutes or so. And if anybody has any questions for Mark specifically at this point, let's get them in now so he can answer. If you haven't entered the book giveaway, hit that email quickly. Let's see.
I can answer on behalf of Isaac and the Witches of Vegas as well. If you have any questions for them.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever you'd like to know, he's willing to answer.
Not all come at us at once.
So, Mark, have you got anything beyond yet? Have you started on number 3?
The third book is actually in the works now. I expect it should come out by the end of the year. He's my favorite magician of all time. A lot of magicians I liked. I have to tell you, I always liked Harry Anderson because not only was he amazing with the magic, but he was also very funny and personable on stage. Obviously, as a child, I watched David Copperfield on TV. That's probably what first inspired me to really get into magic. Quick aside story, by the way, when The Witches of Vegas first came out, the first person I actually sent a book to was Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller. And he actually contacted me. They loved the concept.
Wow.
Really?
Gave the book to his 15-year-old daughter, who is a magician in Vegas.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh. That's really
cool.
exciting. I would love to hear well, we did have one odd thing happen. Okay. We our third book, Clone Drones, came out long before anyone had privately, Sue Pearson said this about what you just had to say about Gillette. Before anyone had weaponized their own private drone. And then about a year after we had published the book, an 18-year-old weaponized a drone. And we were both like,
Uh-oh.
oh dear. Oh.
How many books do you foresee in this series? I can say now I do have the idea for the 4th book. I have a general basic idea for the 5th. As long as ideas come to me, usually in the middle of the night, and as long as there's still interest in the series, I'll keep going with these characters.
That's a good thing. Yeah, let's see. I love Penn and Teller too. And Barbara said she saw them at Bally's.
Bally's. Yeah, still in Vegas. I see them every week. They have their show on now, Fool Us, where magicians go up there and try to fool them with the tricks.
Yeah. I've never watched that. Have you watched it?
I watch it weekly. I always envision that's probably how the Witches of Vegas started in Vegas, by going and fooling Penn and Teller. Of course, that's in the book, but
you can put it in the book. I'm sure they wouldn't mind the free advertising.
No, that's right.
Someday in the future, we'll see.
Do you ever think about writing another series different than this one, or do you feel fully invested in this one right now?
I never thought I was even going to write this one. It just hit me, and I had this just need to write it. And right now, I really do enjoy writing for these characters.
Yeah. So you're focused on that for the moment.
I'm going to be sticking with them for a while. I do have a few ideas that I had back when, after I finished my previous The Rousing Effect, and I had the idea of going young adult, in the writing. And as I said, at the time, I was just burnt out, so they never really got past the 3rd chapter. But who knows? Maybe someday, when I have the time, maybe they'll see the light of day. Who knows?
So again, I just wanted you to repeat what your website is so that those that are listening and not watching can...
MarkRosendorf.com. The www.MarkRosendorf.com. The way you saw that amazing video at the beginning, which, by the way, was made by a fellow Wild Rose Press author, Crystal Harris. She also made the second one for Journey to New Salem, which is up on the website.
Wow,
Awesome.
that really was a stunning video. We loved it. That was great.
Work with the videos.
And then your Twitter?
My Twitter is under my name, twitter.com/Mark Rosendorf.
All right.
Makes it easy.
That
Yes.
does make it easy. Okay, this is a good question too. I like this question, Amy.
Who is my favorite character? I happen to like all the characters, but if I had to talk about one, it would probably be Luther. He's the 500-year-old vampire who mentors the witches, and he's there to save the world in case this threat ever comes. However, because he is 500 years old, he's not this spry, like they played in that Tom Cruise movie. 500 years old, he's old, he's cranky, he's completely impatient because he's seen it and done it a million times. And that's the attitude he takes towards them. They've become his family. He loves them, but he has no patience.
That's great. I've never heard anybody talk about a vampire that way, so that's always good when you do something unique. I think it is.
Before I was a guidance counselor, I actually worked in the hotel industry, and I had an old supervisor who everybody liked. He was a great guy, but he'd been there for 40 years. I think he was pushing, 70. And, we were all in our young 20s at the time. Zero patience. And I figure if he was like that at that age, imagine at 500. They really got to be cranky.
Yeah. Believe me, I know how old I am, and I'm cranky. I'm not 500 yet, by the way.
So,
yeah, he's a good guy.
in the last few minutes here, do something a little different. Mark, Orlando, do you guys have questions for each other, or you want to have any author-to-author things to say?
Yeah, Mark. So, because you were a magician, how did that influence your writing about the witches in Vegas? Because you had that very unique perspective of being on stage,
right,
and creating illusions. So, how did that influence your writing for the book?
It's a good question, Orlando. And I'll tell you how the Witches of Vegas actually comes from the two perspectives. It comes from the witches, but also comes from the magicians. Right. And I can tell you, and so when they're talking about being on stage, putting these shows together, this is stuff that I've put together. I help my students. In fact, I can say that some of the behind the scenes of magic is inside the Witches of Vegas.
Really?
Yeah.
When you sent the book to Penn, Gillette, because they're notorious for telling how the tricks are done, right? They're known for kind of removing the aura of it's magic. No, this is how it is. Did you do that in the Witches of Vegas? Did you kind of reveal a bit of how the illusions were brought
a little bit, yeah. And my favorite scene is actually you have scenes where they go to see the witches, and even though they're professional magicians, they don't understand how it works. And then there's times where Isis, the 50-year-old witch, goes to their show and is just amazed. No, witchcraft, how are they doing it?
Right. That's awesome. What made you decide to do YA and not, because this is a great subject. You could have gone any demographic, but why YA?
The two characters, Isis and Zach, just spoke to me.
Okay.
I was just seeing their perspective. And honestly, one of the biggest criticisms of my previous books, which were adult thrillers, was that even though the content was adult, the writing style was YA.
Right.
And I said, well, yeah, I work with teenagers. I'm sure I picked up a lot of that. So it just made sense. Yeah, this is what I should be writing. And I figured with the magic and the witches and vampires, this is perfect because I know that's a big thing among the teens today.
So it almost sounds like you found your voice in terms of that, because even though your previous book was an adult theme, it was geared towards that audience.
Apparently my 6-year vacation paid off.
Yeah. There you go.
So Orlando, your books, you feel like yours appeal to YA all the way up, right? There's really.
I have a 14-year-old who reads my books, and he's always saying, "When's the next one coming out?" After I've released it, it's like he reads it. He devours them in an hour or so. He just reads.
So that's great general appeal there. That's awesome.
And then I have people who are in their 60s, 70s are saying they love them. So it's really a very broad appeal. Yeah.
You're not saying that's old, are you?
No, not at all.
Just wondering.
Say this: some of my first 10 was actually at my parents' community in Florida, which is 55 and above, and they all seem to really love The Witches of Vegas. So I guess YA kind of does appeal to, every audience.
Yeah.
Just like Orlando, sounds like your books as well have an appeal to every audience.
I think that that's true, because I know that, some of the major movies that have come out recently have been young adult books. And I've read all of those series, and I'm 74. So
Today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you look at these blockbuster movies like Twilight, and these were YA books that would.
That's right.
Films. Harry Potter. That was a YA book. I remember back when we had the dojo and Harry Potter was really popular. These kids were walking around with tomes, 800 pages thick. Like, what are you reading? Oh, it's Harry Potter and whatever. It's like, so most of these books that became movies that were really popular were YA. It's just that they had themes that resonated not just with that group, but with adults as well. And, we weren't born in this age. So at some point we can relate to what's being told in those stories.
Thank you, Lauren.
Right, yeah. There are a lot of YAs authors who are very well known.
Yeah, and you kind of have to appeal to all audiences, because if not, you're limiting yourself.
Well, yeah. See, the thing about that is there's some authors that deliberately write in niche areas because they want to cater to a specific audience, and so they'll write in they'll write zombies in space and something very, very niche, which isn't going to appeal to everyone. But most of the stories that resonate do appeal to a broad audience in every age.
Yeah, I agree. I also read a lot of young adult series too. Hunger Games, wasn't that geared towards young adults?
It was,
yeah.
And let me think of what else. Mortal Bones, that was
also, yeah.
Well, can you tell there's a theme here? I like fantasy, sci-fi.
See, but you're not the only one, because that's why it's so large and it's so huge, because so many people, they run the gamut, right? They go not only just fantasy, but you'll find that a lot of the same people also love sci-fi. And what has more appeal than, let's say, Star Wars or Star Trek, things like that? How old are we? I still remember standing online for Star Wars, the first one. And we're talking 30, 40 years at this point. So these stories, they have a resonance for large audiences.
Boy, that's for sure.
We dragged all our kids there and made them stand in line.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi was the first movie I stood in line for.
They still remember standing in line, and then it went all the way around the building, and they were kind of like, "You're gonna make us, Stargate, Oh my God, I love Stargate.
It's awesome. So yeah, I was standing at the Ziegfeld, which is where Star Wars played, and I played hooky from school that day. My little one here, and I was online. I was on one of those lines that went around the block,
around the building, yeah,
to see the first showings of Star Wars. And I still remember the Destroyer.
Oh my gosh.
And the Ziegfeld had surround sound. It was one of the few theaters that had it. And everyone in the theater went like this, because that's where it came into the field. It was like, and then you just saw it go on forever because it was just so enormous. And it's like, wow, that isn't, and it stays with you, things like that. Or when the TIE fighter would come down and everyone ducked as it came down, and people were like, whoa. So,
and the one thing we know, Han shot first, right?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, this has been really awesome. Orlando, want to thank you for joining us. And Mark, you too. And you guys are in Queens together. You ought to go have a cup of coffee when you get done.
You're not far away.
Social distance.
Right?
Social distance, though, right?
Oh, you got a social distance still, yeah.
All right, we'll have coffee from 6 feet away, sure.
It is.
It's a documentary.
It was a document. It is.
Yeah.
A long time ago, galaxy far, far away. It happened.
That's right.
There you go.
It was then. Before we sign off, I'd like to remind you that we can watch on WLFE-DB.com. You can watch this show live on TV and all the other shows. And I'd like you to try and catch Paratalk Radio on Monday with Ted and Cindy at 8 and Real Talk with Dom at 10. And also on Tuesday, The Creepy Parlor with Genevieve. And after that is Where's My Sage with Mike and Christy. And there's a whole bunch of other shows that you would love.
Interesting shows.
Everything But Nothing with T. Roy at 10 on Thursday. We love T. Roy.
So thank you. And stick around. We'll chat afterwards.
Sure.
And on to the next.
Wait a minute. We have one more comment here. Let's see. Oh, Sue Pearson says, you were both wonderful.
Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And you were too. You were really great. We've got a few minutes that we can. So fun and great getting to know you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
Thanks, Trish.
Yeah.
And thank you, Robin, for having us on the show.
Oh, yeah. We're just thrilled to have had you. It really was a good show. We can go a few minutes over. There isn't a show after us for another half an hour or so.
That's your show because it was on your birthday.
Yeah, I know. I know. And I said to one of my daughters earlier today, okay, I'm never doing a show on my birthday again because it's been texts and people calling all day long. And my sister, like I said, called it 5 p.m. And when we talk forever. And I said, okay, I really have to go because we do need to put the show on. So, but hey, we're in quarantine. I wasn't going anywhere anyway.
There you go. That's right.
Okay, I'll let you sign off now. Yes, she's that daughter.
Okay. So on to the next.
On to the next.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.
No, it's okay. Present it.